Welcome back to the Untouchaballs podcast. Caden and Leo here. Caden, how you doing today?
You know, Max, it's a beautiful Sunday outside, so I'm having a pretty good day.
It's a beautiful, blessed Sunday, Caden, here on the Untouchaballs podcast. And we got some conference basketball games to talk about here from 5 different conferences getting started. Let's hop right into it.
Yeah, so starting this past week, conference tournaments have started. We've seen a lot of the smaller conferences have their tournaments already going. We've seen a couple teams already punch their tickets to the NCAA tournament through their automatic bids, especially in these smaller conferences where you're only going to see the only bid come from the conference champions. But now this upcoming week, we're going to see the big boys, your Power 4, your other kind of college basketball powerhouse conferences, where, yes, they're going to send multiple teams to the tournament, but also they're still going to try to win for the most part, try to win their respective conference tournament, either boost their seeding, or some of the teams they need to win the tournament to get in. Like they might be a bubble team right now or just outside looking in. So they need to actually win this to even have a chance to get in.
Correct, Caden. It's a very exciting time because this is basically like the teaser before March Madness really gets going. I mean, all of March is mad, but you know the good tournament part. This is the appetizer per se. Looking first at that Big 12, Caden. Obviously, the big dog Houston sits as the number 1 seed in that tournament. They're most likely going to be the ones who come out and win. They're the presumed favorite, although they may not exert as much energy or effort as we may think, depending on the game plan of their coach, Caden, and if they want to preserve their guys for, obviously, the big tournament. But what are your thoughts on Houston as a team?
Houston is a very good basketball team. They're looking like more likely than one of these number 1 seeds going into the NCAA tournament. But like we saw last year in the Big 12 tournament with Kansas, decided to rest some of their starters to avoid getting injuries right before the tournament before they go on a run. So it'll be interesting to see what we see out of Houston in this tournament. Looking at it, I mean, they are the favorite. They're minus 120. So they could be something you might want to, if you think Houston's going, you could lay that. Or we talked about it last year during this time doing a rollover. But some other like shots in this tournament I think could be worth it. I think that's all going to come from that Houston side of the bracket. Yeah. I think that side of the bracket is going to end up being where the champion comes from. One of them is a longer shot at 11-1, so plus 1100. Is the BYU Cougars. They have been playing very good basketball now. They are one of the hottest teams in the conference, and their schedule is they get a bye until the quarterfinals, correct, where they will be playing either Cincinnati or Oklahoma State, who they play in the first round, and then the other team I want to talk about here is Iowa State, who plays the winner of that Cincinnati Oklahoma State in the second round. Where I think them at plus 700 is also really good because while they've kind of faltered a little bit lately, they're still one of the best teams in this conference. It's one of the better teams in the country. I think you get, if you're not looking at Houston to win, I think one of those two between BYU at 11-1 or Iowa State at 7-1, I think those are two kind of good, more long shots to win this tournament than someone like Kansas, who is just so inconsistent. We've seen them lose a lot of bad games. But, I mean, one that could be kind of crazy would be West Virginia. They are right on the outside looking in. They had some big wins, had some bad losses. So it'd be interesting to see if they could beat Houston because, I mean, they'll be facing the winner of your Buffaloes and TCU. Correct. And that should be more likely to not be a win for the Mountaineers. So if they could go in there, maybe beat Houston, they could be a team to watch. But in reality, I think it's going to be one of those three of Houston, BYU, and Iowa State to come out of this conference.
Yeah, and that's what's crazy about this conference. It is so deep. It's one of the only conferences to have, I think it's 5 teams in the top 30 of the Ken Palm rankings going into conference play, which is very exciting from the Big 12. And as you mentioned, the Colorado Buffaloes coming off a 20-point win over TCU on Saturday. They're getting a rematch first round of the championship against TCU again. And I think the Buffaloes actually have a chance to win a conference tournament game, Caden, which is going to be pretty exciting, hopefully. And who knows? Maybe they get a little magic and they actually can win more than one game. Because this is the thing, right? Although CU only has 3 conference wins this year and they've been poor, they've at least been competitive in a lot of their games. Yep. They've held leads in most of the game losses, even though some of them have been uglier. They have the potential to get hot, to find a rhythm, like the women's team did a week ago in the tournament, winning 2 games as well. Not saying it's going to happen, but something to watch out for potentially. Maybe they upset a West Virginia type team. You never know.
And I mean, our boy Max right here is going to be in attendance for the entire Big 12 tournament in Kansas City. So obviously he's going to be pulling hard for the Buffaloes. He's also going to be in store for a lot of basketball. So after this conference tournament, before we go into Sunday, he's going to have a lot to give us about the Big 12 teams.
It's going to be very exciting. Going to get hopefully a good seat to check out all these games in the tournament. courtside, really see the athleticism and kind of see the difference of the physicality up close. It's gonna be nice.
Yeah, and while the Big 12 might be sending 7 or 8 teams to the tournament as well as looking right now, we're going to move on to the SEC here,
Yes.
which is projected to send 12 to 13 teams to the tournament, which is crazy to think about. And you look at this, your favorites it's Auburn, then Florida, Bama, Tennessee, which are 2 or 4 of the just top teams in the country. We saw that overtime thriller with Bama and Auburn just yesterday with Mark Sears hitting the floater at the buzzer, which was an incredible game. You look at my Longhorns are actually the 13th seed out of 15 teams. They've had a bad year in the first year of SEC play.
Let's go. Hey, football schools.
Football schools, yeah. Like Trey Johnson's been awesome for them. He's leading all SEC freshmen in scoring. He's been great. But this team, they're more likely than not going to lose round 1 to Vandy. Even if somehow they win that game, they're going to lose to A&M in the second round. And then looking at kind of like the odds and stuff for this tournament, your favorite is Auburn. They're at plus 150. So you're kind of not like it's a slight plus money there, but you're taking a risk with them where we've seen them lose some of these games that they probably should or could have been winning. So what I like is you have Florida at plus 270 in this. They're the second odds-on favorite. They will avoid Auburn until the championship.
Correct.
So they'll play either Missouri, Mississippi State, or LSU in their first game. And then it'll most likely be a Alabama or Kentucky in the semifinals, where they can beat both those games. Their offense is one of the best in the country, as well as Alabama. So if you see them in the semifinals, you could be in store for a very high-scoring, high-powered college matchup. But we've also seen this Florida team. They're able to score at will. So can Alabama, but Florida's defense is more of a more solid unit as a whole compared to Alabama, where you see Florida, and they are a very good offensive team. You look at the Ken Palm rankings.
Oh, yeah.
They are 4th in offense and 10th in defense. So that's very good. So they're top 10 in both. Only one of a couple teams in the country to do that. Alabama's great too. They're 3rd in offense, but they're 31st in defense. So you look at that. The matchup, I think, does favor Florida. And then a long shot in this tournament at 25-1 plus 2,500 is Texas A&M. They've had some bad losses, but they've also had some good wins. They are a kind of a streaky team, and their side of the bracket. I mean, I could definitely see them beating. I don't really see them losing to either a Texas or Vandy in their first game, and then I could definitely see them beating Tennessee, which had that bad loss at Ole Miss just last week. And Tennessee's already. I mean, most of these teams in the SEC are already locked into the tournament. A lot of them are just kind of fighting for seeding and going into the tournament. So I could see A&M beating Tennessee. Then you're probably playing Auburn in that game, which that's a tough game.
Yeah.
But at a neutral site, I think anything can happen, and you get a Texas A&M team, which is both teams are good defensively, but Texas A&M has a very good defense. They have shown the ability to really get hot from the 3 ball. I could see them finding their way into there, and at 25-1, I think that could be worth a shot.
Caden, you kind of knocked on Tennessee there, but this is a team I think that is dangerous. I think the loss honestly kind of helps them. I think, like you saw, I hate going back to this, but with Ohio State, I think loss, for good teams anyways, can propel growth better than victories can even.
Okay.
Right? You learn more about yourself in a loss than you do in a win. I think them being able to go back, look at the film, see what they need to do better to attack on offense, to get more consistent shots, better looks, and play better defense. I think all that will come into play if they want to improve their seeding for the tournament. Now, like you said, if they're just kind of cool with coasting and accepting their position, throw all that out the window. That's what's going to be kind of interesting to see within these tournaments, though, Caden, is which teams are going to be willing to put it all out there and go for big wins. Yeah. I think it's going to be exciting.
Oh, for sure. Those 2 tournaments should be awesome. We're going to move to another Power 4 tournament here at the ACC. We're not really going to touch on the Big Ten here, as that one's a little interesting, not great. We don't know a lot of the whole bracket yet for that anyways, because there was actually still games being played today to finish out the Big Ten regular season. We don't know all that yet. But with the ACC, you obviously have Duke as the overwhelming favorite. They are minus 320, one of the best teams in the country. Ken Palm loves them as well. They're just one of the best teams overall. And then you have a lot of teams that also you're just trying to fight for their tournament lives. Like you have a team like UNC, which has kind of had a down year.
Yeah, real down year for historic basketball program specifically. Caden.
And they got blown out both times they played Duke. So the only way they're going to be able to make the tournament is if they can actually win this. Same with like SMU, who has a very good record, but they have no good wins. They're really bad against quad 1 teams. They only have, I think, if I remember right, it's 7 wins against top 100 rated teams, so that's not good. Louisville. So when you look at the tournament, I think the bet's worth looking at. Duke at minus 320. I don't know if that's worth laying all that juice. You can probably find something else there going throughout. But one shot I do is the 2 seed Louisville at plus 550. They've been a very just solid, good basketball team throughout the entire season. We see them have a lot of big wins. They're a top 15 ranked team in the country. And I think that can continue throughout this tournament. They won't face off with Duke until the championship game, where obviously if we get both teams there, you can obviously hedge that with some stuff on Duke in that game. I think Louisville plus 550 is a great play here if you don't want to lay all the juice with Duke.
Yeah, that's completely a good point, Caden. But like you said, this Duke team's they're legit.
Oh yeah,
they're going to be one of the top 4 favorites probably going into this actual NCAA tournament.
As of right now, they are the second odds-on favorite to win the tournament, just behind Auburn.
Correct. And so, with that being said, I think that's kind of just a safe bet if you want to play it safe in these conference tournaments. But as we're going to continue to mention, because I think it's a very valid point, are they going to want to just rest their players and give way to a team like Louisville to come in and snatch it? It would be some good money there on that side, like you mentioned.
Yeah, and to wrap it up, we have 2 more conferences here. We're going to go more to the group of 5. I guess that's in football terms because there's so many conferences for college basketball.
Yeah.
We're going to go to more of the bigger basketball conference here, the Mountain West, which last year we saw had 8 teams of the tournament.
Oh, yeah.
It's not going to be as big this year, but we still have some really good teams as with New Mexico, Colorado State, Utah State, and San Diego State are all looking really good. San Diego State's close to trying to get into the tournament. Same with Boise State. That loss to CSU the other night was not good for them.
Not good.
So they are going to need to win some games. San Diego State's going to win some games. Utah State and New Mexico State are basically already locked. CSU is more likely than not a should-be-in team right now. And then you look at this tournament, look at the lines. I think New Mexico, they are the favorite, but at plus 250, I think that's worth it. Yeah. They are a very good, sound basketball team, and they have a lot of the players. Like, you look at some of these games, they've had that bad loss. Where was that? That was San Diego State who lost at UNLV, where they are also a team I think could end up winning this tournament at plus 750. They will play New Mexico in the semifinals. They play Boise State to open up the tournament, then they play New Mexico in the semifinals, and then you're playing probably, I'd say, Utah State in the championship, which
realistically,
which I definitely think they could be. San Diego State's one of these teams where we see a lot of times get hot in March, get hot and at the right time, like we saw when they made that Final Four run just a handful of years ago. They when the moment comes, they like to shine. They are a very just good, sound basketball team. I think if you look at this tournament, New Mexico or San Diego State, in my eyes, are the best play for this one.
Definitely can. And I honestly do kind of like Utah State a lot there as well as potential, sleeper pick to go in and make some noise. Shout out our boy Choff, but I think CSU is one of those teams that people are going to potentially bet on and kind of feel like can get hot. I don't expect them to make it to the championship or even the semis, to be honest with you, Caden, because this is a team that is, although it's a good basketball team, they're going to make the tournament. It's CSU. They're going to do CSU things in the biggest moments. They're going to choke. We saw it last year. We've seen it mainly every year that CSU does make the tournament for men's basketball. Had to throw some haterism comments into there, Caden, before we move on to our final conference.
Yeah, Utah State's a plus 330 in this, so that's also a good look. They're also a good basketball school. Yeah. We've seen it year in and year out with them. They're always finding their way into the tournament. They'll win some games in the tournament. Sneaky. They are sneaky. So I think either the New Mexico, Utah State, like I could definitely see Utah State making it on their side of the bracket. Yeah. On the other side, I think it's definitely between the San Diego State and New Mexico on that side.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Last bracket we do want to talk about here, last tournament, is the Big East tournament, which is always just full of good basketball schools. This year,
this is a classic basketball conference.
Yep.
Right here.
And for the first time in a couple years, UConn's not the number 1 seed. They've had kind of a down year. Actually,
they lost Colorado.
Lost early in the year. So yeah, your 1 seed is St. John's, who, just like Alabama, won on a buzzer beater at Marquette yesterday in overtime. Your 2 seed is Creighton, who's looked really good this year. UConn is still ended up as the 3 seed. And then you have Xavier and Marquette rounding out the 4-5 with a couple other teams rounding out the back. You look at this, there's no overwhelming favorite here. There's no one not in like minus money like we say with Duke or with even Houston. St. John's is the favorite at plus 155. That is what I think probably the best play. They look like the best team in this conference. Rick Pitino-led teams. Rick Pitino is one of the greatest coaches in college basketball history. And then you look at him every school he'd been with, every year they make a second-year jump.
Correct.
With every school, the second year with them, they're reaching an Elite Eight, reaching a Final Four. They're doing big things. And St. John's had a good year last year. This year, they really exploded. They're a top, going into yesterday's game, they're the number 6 team in the country. They're going to be one of these top seeds in the tournament, probably going to round out to be like a 2 seed in one of these conferences. And Rick Pitino's squad's really good. I think they should be the favorite in them, and I like them here. Another one that I think could be interesting is on the other side of the bracket. They want us to face St. John's until the championship game is Creighton.
Yeah,
we've seen them like kind of just like a lot of teams. This is a basketball conference. All basketball schools. Creighton is always good.
They're basketball.
They are one of these top teams as well in the country. They're probably a 4 or 5 seed right now when you look at it going into the tournament. I think they could definitely get through a UConn in the semis, or if somehow Villanova can go on a little run, I could definitely see them also getting through that. And then you're going against St. John's in the championship. I think anything can happen there. I think both are 2 very well-rounded teams. So I think St. John's, Creighton, those are your probably 2 best options in this conference.
I think so, Caden, as well. Me personally, I'm leaning a little on Creighton. I think they're going to be able to get it done. I like that team a lot, Caden, just the way they play. And again, like you said, this is a traditional basketball school. Traditional basketball conference. It's going to be exciting to see who comes out. And like you said, major tournament implications, of course. We're going to recap all this next week, obviously, when these games wrap up and the tournament play is done and Selection Sunday happens, of course, Caden.
Yeah, Selection Sunday is a week from today, so we'll see probably a pod breaking down all these conference tournaments, how everything's shaped up. And then there's going to be another one where we're going to, just kind of like we did last, we're going to go over our brackets, see where we agree, see where we differ. We might even include our boy Evan Dwyer from the MLB episode, because he's going to be in our pool with us. We might add him in there and have all 3 of us go in and see whose bracket will end up as the best.
Maybe Choff comes in and visits.
That could be an idea.
He'll sit right here in this chair that you guys can't see on camera. We'll just put Dwyer there. We'll kick back the tripod. It'll be a good episode.
Sure.
Theoretically.
So yeah, make sure you guys like this video. If you did enjoy, leave a comment on anything you agree or disagree with in this conference. Are there any other long shots or dark horses that you think could be better off in this tournament? Turn on post notifications so you never miss an upload, and share this with your friends, family, strangers, neighbors, anything like that.
Most definitely. We thank you all for listening. We'll see you all next time.